not available in your country. So just go online, look up which country Netflix it's on, and then use ExpressVPN to change your location to that country, and you'll have it. Here, let me show you. The Office, for example, is available in Canada. So you just have to change your location to a server in Canada, and now you can watch The Office, dude. It's really that simple. And it's not just for Netflix. ExpressVPN works for pretty much every streaming service. Dude, just last week I was in London for my wife's birthday, and we wanted to watch the new episode of Drag Race on Crave. But the show wasn't available in London, so all we had to do was switch to a Canadian server, and we were watching the new episode of Drag Race, man. So if it wasn't for ExpressVPN, we would have had to wait like a week to watch the newest episode, and that would have been terrible, because if you watch Drag Race, you know people love to spoil that show immediately. ExpressVPN is really an awesome product, and I've been using it on all my devices for years now, and changing your location to access shows and movies is great, but they also have like a bunch of other benefits as well, so it's just, can't recommend them enough. And the best part is they hooked me up with a special offer just for you guys. Just go to expressvpn.com/CurtisTown, and you can get 3 extra months of ExpressVPN for free. The link is also down in the description as well, so what are you waiting for? Okay, click it and give them a try. Go see what you've been missing. Okay,
well,
thank you,
ExpressVPN.
Love you. Back to me. Alright, well, fuck, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please press the like button. Believe it or not, 1 like equals 1 mysterious breakfast that I've never seen before in my life. You can leave a comment, let me know what you thought about this whole thing, let me know what you think about Brenty Boy, and you can press the subscribe button if you want, because as soon as you do, you become a valued citizen of Curtistown. And if you didn't know, Curtistown is the best place to live in the world, and I'm the mayor. So you have to be nice to me. It is the law, but that's the only law in Curtistown. Okay, there is one law. We got one up on Slab City. You can check the description for my Instagram, my Twitter, my podcast, my gaming channel, all that bullshit that I do. I'm going on tour. That's pretty cool. I don't know. Alright, thanks for watching. I would stick around, but unfortunately I have to go. I have to go aimlessly wander the streets of Toronto and tell people how dangerous it is. So, sorry. Peace!
The Batman Arkham series. Dear Lord, these games.
What is 304 time? Why are you on here? You buying pussy? You know.
Kaijus. Everyone likes kaijus. The robot.
Head over to the official Horror City website and you'll see something spectacular. An enormous, ultra... You have the ability to reanimate human corpses.
Wake me up. Psycho girlfriend. That's something.
Crap. She's been battling that court case for years. She had no business sitting up there being racist like that. Oh, she made a mistake. That's not a mistake. People are telling you that people enslaved people and killed them and murdered them because of color they can't, and you thought that was funny? Like, that's not something that people should look at. Something is wrong. You feel me? Something is wrong.
Mom,
What did you do?
we...
Something is biting me. Okay. I got a bite behind my ear. Yeah.
I'm glad when they ass gone in a second.
Right? Go free somewhere.
For a while, there are only a few things on the internet able to
Logically
create
survive
now.
every Trevor
Mostly,
Henderson creature? You can't. What do you mean?
late night roads.
Exciting news, everyone. I put my cat on a shirt.
She has no idea she's in a shirt.
8 years today at DrewGoodandShop.com. Hey guys, welcome back to Watch Mojo's Top 10 Days of the Week. Number 4. Thursday. I love horror movies. I think it's such a fun genre. The experience you have while watching one is so much different than just about any other type of movie. It's funny to look back on all the stress I felt over the years while watching horror movies because, objectively speaking, I wasn't in a stressful situation. I was just sitting on my couch, scared because there's something on the TV. Okay, turn it off. Close your eyes, dude. There's no danger here. Idiot. Some of my all-time favorite movies are horror movies, but also some of my all-time least favorite. Let me tell you about the 2021 Netflix original, There's Someone Inside Your House. There are a lot of things that I hate about this film, but perhaps nothing more so than the title being a complete lie. No, there's not someone inside your house. This movie barely takes place inside of one. You can't just come up with a cool title for a movie and then write a script that has nothing to do with it. I mean, apparently you can because that's what they did, but I don't think you should be allowed to do that. I think they should be in jail. The opening scene was actually pretty good, and from what I can tell, what they named the entire movie after. It opens on a static shot of what seems to be the only house for miles. Truck pulls into frame, guy starts an egg timer, takes a little nap, and when he wakes up, his phone is gone, and it's been replaced by the timer. Who put that there? He goes downstairs, where he sees that the front door is wide open. Oh shit, his car's gone? Don't like that. If I didn't know any better, I'd say there's someone inside his house. Anyway, he dies pretty hard and then they play the opening credits. At this point though, I'm invested. Like, this was a creepy and well-directed opening that set the stage for what should have been a much better movie. The synopsis is that there's a secret killer who's also sort of a secret killer in that he kills people who have secrets. The first guy's secret is that he violently assaulted someone else on the football team, almost beat the guy to death. The second person who gets killed is the popular girl who tries very hard to seem open-minded in public but has a secret white supremacist podcast. Got it. So we're killing people who are doing something harmful to others in private. That's the theme here. Until the third murder, which isn't that at all. One of the only likable characters thus far gets murdered because he has a pill addiction. Okay? Send him to rehab then. Addiction doesn't inherently make you a bad person, especially if you're not hurting other people while you do it. Why is he getting murdered over his own personal struggle? Also, this happens at a party where everyone else is underage drinking and smoking. Is that not held to the same standard? Kinda seems like everybody's intoxicated here. But unfortunately, the movie continues. There's now a fourth victim whose secret is, get this, he's gay. So now I'm really confused about the politics of this murder. So you hate Big Pharma, you hate racism, and you also hate gay people. Which side are you on, man? Also, the guy he stabs in this scene was the one who got his ass kicked by the first guy. So you kill one person for doing a hate crime, and then you commit a worse hate crime? Who the fuck wrote this movie? It's around this point where we learn that the main character, Makani, also has a secret past of her own. She was involved in some kind of hazing incident where she drunkenly pushed another student into a bonfire that almost killed her. So now we would be worried about her if this movie gave us any reason to give a shit. But I certainly don't care. She miraculously survives, tells her friends about her secret, and now there's time for one last confrontation. And if I wasn't mad at this movie already, this scene would be the thing to put me over the edge. So they go to a cornfield maze that's on fire and drive a car through the fire. Which I don't think is something you can do, but this movie's making me doubt any scientific knowledge I've ever had, so who's to say? What really made me mad, though, is how stupid this movie thinks we are by foregoing any chance they had it settled. We know that the main character has trauma associated with big fires. That's the thing we just learned. So if you're going for symbolism here, just show her face and show the fire, and we'll piece together that, oh my god, you're doing a flashback. You're doing a flashback to the scene you just showed 6 minutes ago? Is this movie made for toddlers?
Yeah.
I would hope not, because there's a bunch of murders in it. Anyway, turns out he was the angry rich kid this whole time. Who could have seen that coming? I mean, he's probably the only character who could afford to keep 3D printing photorealistic masks of all the victims' faces, but I guess we weren't supposed to think about that until now. Watching this movie for the second time now definitely ruined my day, but I'm not gonna let it ruin my month. Surely there's worse movies out there that could do that. So I had to do a local record store that turned out to have a fantastic selection of horror DVDs and also the 40-year-old virgin, which sounded a little too scary for me. This was the exact mix of classic horror films and straight-to-DVD garbage that I was looking for. I found some absolute gems here, and I could not wait to take them home and force my wife to watch them with me. First up, we've got the 1999 thriller Bats. I love that this movie wastes no time getting to the bats. We open on some couple arguing in their car, and they get like 2 lines out before being absolutely ripped to shreds.
Just listen to what I'm saying.
I heard what you said, Clint. Adonis told me everything you're saying and everything.
Then we cut to a cave in Arizona. Guess what? More bats. I could honestly cry. I've never seen a movie so faithful to its title. We're introduced to 2 of the main characters in this movie, Dr. Sheila Casper, who likes to go inside caves and look at bats, and Jimmy, who just sort of talks to her on the radio from outside the cave.
Hey, Jimmy, if you hate bats and caves so much, what the hell are you doing with me anyway?
Oh no, Jimmy doesn't like bats. Something tells me this is going to be a really rough day for him. Unfortunately, whatever their mission here is gets cut short when a helicopter lands and a guy named Toby comes out and tells him he needs their help.
I'm Dr. Toby Hart. We need your help. Immediately.
I have to say, this is the perfect name for someone with that haircut. If you go to your barber and ask him for the Toby, you're going to walk out of there looking like this.
There's a biological emergency.
What kind of biological emergency?
Say it.
Pat.
Yes!
Dr. Casper. Pat.
Let's fucking go, dude. This movie is about one thing and only one thing.
So, ma'am, you're Dr. Howard. What exactly?
Bats, Sheriff. I work with bats.
Pat.
Yeah, I'm starting to think this movie might have some bats in it. So Sheila the Bat Doctor gets called in to examine the very dead body of the guy killed in the opening scene, where she notices a fang.
This is impossible. These bats only feed on fruit and nectar. This must be some kind of sick hoax.
Well, fortunately, we're fairly certain that this is not a hoax.
Yeah, there's a mangled corpse in front of you. It'd be kind of weird if we just brought this in as a joke.
Bats do not kill people. There must be some other explanation.
People
One
kill
has absolutely
people.
nothing to do with bats.
Well, wait a second. Are you saying some kind of bat did this?
I love how many of the scenes early on are just someone being like, I think a bat did this, and someone else being like, bats?
I think this was done by some sort of bats.
My favorite character in this movie by far is Jimmy, who, as we discussed, doesn't like bats and yet chose a career path entirely devoted to them. He's also written to be so dumb.
You need to know what we're dealing with here, Doctor.
I'm kind of curious myself now that you mention it.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I would kind of like to know what's going
Oh,
on
yeah,
with all
talking
these
like that.
murderous bats. I wasn't interested until this moment. Although everyone's kind of an idiot in this movie, so it's just part of it.
Why they got Leon acting like
Bats
Jamie
don't
Foxx?
infect other bats. Now that's bullshit.
I'll give them a little bit of credit. There are some scenes that are actually.
Why they got
really
Leon
scary.
acting like
In
Jamie
general,
Foxx?
The idea of being chased by a giant swarm of flying animals trying to kill you is not the worst concept for a horror movie. It just gets a little silly when they start doing some of the close-ups of the bat puppets.
What'd I tell you?
Oh, this one they just threw into a cage and shook it around. Apparently the bats aren't just hungry for human blood, they're also smart, too. They managed to put a tracking device on one of them, and then 2 other bats fly in and kill it, in a scene that ends with everyone half-heartedly jogging. And cut. Perfect, guys. Love the lack of urgency. Somehow, in between their many close encounters with death, Sheila and the Sheriff Emmett find time to awkwardly flirt with each other.
Try to be gentle. Firm.
Think I can handle that?
I'm sure you can.
Yeah, like with sex. So the bats start spreading, and things are clearly getting out of hand. I love the scene where this kid somehow doesn't notice the guy next to him screaming in agony because he's playing a video game. Society, am I right? And I gotta say, the directorial choice to have this shot where the cameraman sprints across the room towards the attack, followed by 75 quick cuts, absolutely hilarious. This is what filmmaking is all about. Oh no, now they're attacking the whole town. Or actually just flying above it, I guess. They attack a couple people, but for the most part, they're just out there making noise. One of them flew directly into a neon sign. That was pretty dumb. Thank God Sheila was here to save this kid who seemed to be in absolutely no danger. There's actually multiple people in this scene who are standing perfectly still that Sheila saved just by telling them to move. That's the kind of intelligence only a bat doctor can have. I like when this cop tries to de-escalate the situation by verbally threatening one of them, and that doesn't go too well. Take it easy. Bat with a T. I had to tell you. I also like when all the cars just start exploding. What, do the bats have grenades now? Sad news, everyone. Holy God. I guess he was the only reason the bats were in this town in the first place, because they immediately flew away after killing him. Ah, great. Now we have to clean up the town. The bats left newspapers everywhere. Don't worry, though. They've come up with a rock-solid plan to save the day. They're going to freeze the bats with a giant refrigerator.
When the temperature drops below 40 degrees, bats begin to hibernate. All we need are cooling units powerful enough to freeze the roost. We're going to need some special gear going.
What? We're going to visit a room?
Damn it. My job of studying bats is yet again at odds with my fear of them.
So, I'm going to lay on the beach for like 3 years. Some place they never heard of a bat.
Or you could just pick a different job.
Is this what you call hell?
I wouldn't call much of anything I've seen the last few days normal.
Yeah, I bet she's talking about all the bats. Anyway, they turn on the giant refrigerator and manage to outrun all the bats through a cave and up a ladder, down a corridor, up an elevator shaft, out the entrance, all with about a 50-foot head start. Geez, maybe instead of becoming bat scientists, they should have competed in the Olympics, because holy shit. The best part of this chase, though, is when Emmett stops running and turns around to shoot a gun at 7,000 bats. I can't believe that didn't work. And now we can sit back and enjoy this 9-minute-long explosion, knowing full well that all the bats are dead and the world is safe. Oh no! That's the best ending I've ever seen. Actually, that is kind of funny. I was so convinced they were going to do that thing that bad movies do where they hint at a sequel at the end, just in case. But, no. They knew. I think they knew Bats would be one and done. As great as that movie was, I'm just glad I can finally watch the behind-the-scenes
Bats. It's not even important.
Hello and welcome to Recap. A rideshare turns into a thrilling chase after spotting a car from an Amber Alert.
Go. Only takes a minute. We're all satisfied.
Let the movie begin. The story begins with a suspicious black car driving through the city, particularly focusing on young, unsupervised children. The car eventually stops near a young girl, seemingly to abduct her, but the driver quickly notices her mother nearby and leaves. Meanwhile, a woman named Jack is finishing work when she receives a notification that her cab has arrived. She hurries out, but the driver leaves before she can reach him. Desperate to get home, she asks another cab driver, Shane, for a ride. He tells her he's done for the day, but after she offers him a generous tip, he reluctantly agrees. At the same time, another woman, Monica, is at the playground with her 3 children. Her 2 older kids, Charlotte and Henry, play hide and seek, while Monica is playing with her youngest son. Monica's mother-in-law, Gail, makes a video of Monica playing with her son. As Charlotte counts, a black car pulls up beside her, and the driver opens the door to reveal a large doll in the passenger seat. The man uses the doll to lure Charlotte into the car, and Monica, who is preoccupied with watching a video Gail made right at that moment, suddenly notices Charlotte stepping into the unknown car. Panic sets in as she realizes her daughter has been abducted. So she immediately calls 911. Where an operator named Cece answers. After hearing about the situation, Cece transfers the call to the head police officer, Phil, who asks Monica if she saw the
Cece
car's
do
license
911
plate,
now.
but she hasn't. Without a license plate number, Phil explains they can't issue an Amber
Nigga,
Alert
Cece do
just based on
911
the
now.
description of a black Toyota Camry. As it would
He do
overwhelm
911
too
calls
many
now.
leads to sort through. Determined to get her child back,
Yeah,
Monica
man,
rushes
what's
to the
wrong?
911 center, bringing a screenshot
Man, I'm
from
finna
the
send
video
somebody
of
out there.
Charlotte moments before she got into the car. She also shows the police a picture of her
Yeah,
daughter.
that's what they said.
both in their seatbelt.
The
This
911
court
operator
finally
name was
authorized
Cece.
an Amber Alert, instructing Cece to track all calls related to the alert. Meanwhile, in Shane's car, he receives a frustrated call from his ex-wife, Shannon, who is upset that Shane didn't make it home in time for their son Jake's birthday. Shane promises he's almost there and hangs up, explaining to Jack that it's his son's 5th birthday.
911, my wife having a baby. Must be
The
nice.
Amber Alert flashes on their phones, and Shane reflects that no matter how rough his life seems, there are always people going through worse situations, referencing the child abduction. Monica's phone is bombarded with calls and messages from concerned family and friends. At the 911 center, Cece is overwhelmed with reports of black Toyota Camrys. As Jack and Shane continue driving, Jack spots a car that matches the Amber Alert's description. She quickly calls 911, providing the location and license plate number. Cece thanks her for the information, but due to the high volume of calls, ends the call abruptly. At a red light, Shane jokes that they should just ask the driver themselves, when suddenly, the black Camry runs the red light, heightening Jack's suspicion, so she urges Shane to follow the car. The black car eventually stops at a gas station, and a man steps out. Jack, watching closely, panics as she thinks he might be carrying a gun. Feeling scared for the young child, she tells Shane to leave, reminding him that his family is waiting for him, but she decides to check inside the car on her own. Before leaving, Shane gives her his number, telling her to keep him updated. As they talk on the phone, Jack explains that she won't be able to live with herself if she lets the chance to save someone's child slip away. She spots a small crack in the car window and peers inside, where she sees a little girl who isn't moving. In panic, she tries to open the door but realizes the car door is locked. Shane, who has come back to return Jack's jacket, warns her to hide as the man returns from the store. Meanwhile, Cece at the 911 center receives a fake call from someone claiming they saw a little girl screaming in a black car.
How about a black Toyota Camry with a little brown-haired girl screaming out of that window, "He's not my dad"?
He provides them the number plate, which causes further confusion for the police, as they are surprised to get a lead this quickly. Out of options, Jack drops one of her wireless earphones through the crack in the window to hear the conversations made inside the car, and quickly gets back into Shane's vehicle, and they continue following the man. Meanwhile, the police, falling for the fake lead, start devising a plan to intercept a different car, completely unaware that the real kidnapper is getting farther away. As they follow, Jack overhears the man speaking on the phone and quickly jots down the number he mentions. They realize he must be giving out his name and number for a prescription, as he has called a pharmacy in Tennessee. Shane, sensing Jack's serious attitude, asks why she's so invested in chasing a random car. He tells her that if there's truly a girl in that car, her parents are lucky that Jack followed her instincts instead of just letting it go. Soon after, the black car stops in the middle of nowhere, and Jack and Shane pretend their car is broken down. The man gets out of his car for a smoke and walks over to offer help. They politely decline, lying that they're on their way to Franklin to visit a casino. But the man sees through their lie, introduces himself as Aaron, and admits that he knows they're following him because of the Amber Alert. He insists that they've got the wrong person, explaining that the girl in his car is his 7-year-old daughter, Olympia. He claims she's sick, and they're heading to Tennessee to visit his aunt, a mystical doctor because he can't afford proper medical care. Aaron even offers to wake Olympia up if they'd like to talk to her, but Shane declines, not wanting to escalate things. Jack, however, remains uneasy and asks Aaron if she can meet with the girl before she leaves. She cautiously approaches the car, and at that moment, an updated Amber Alert comes in, providing the fake license plate of the suspected kidnapper. Realizing Aaron's car has a different plate, Jack apologizes and tells him not to disturb his sleeping daughter. As his car moves away from theirs, she looks inside and sees a girl awake in the back seat. Jack's relief quickly fades as she calls 911, telling Cece that Aaron is fooling the authorities by using a fake car. She tells Cece that if a man named Aaron gave information about the suspected car, he is just fooling the police. She insists that the girl she saw had white shoes and pink socks, matching the description of the abducted girl who was not released in the Amber Alert, causing Cece to believe Jack. Jack urges Shane to turn the car around and follow Aaron, convinced something isn't right. Cece informs Phil, who warns Jack and Shane that continuing to follow Aaron might put both Charlotte and their own lives in danger. Phil orders them to stop the pursuit, but it makes Jack so angry that she cuts the call. She then dials the number Aaron mentioned earlier, calling him directly, and confronts him, claiming that the police have identified him as the prime suspect, and offers him a deal that if he drops Charlotte off, they'll pick her up, and he can drive away without consequence. But Aaron doesn't back down, picks up speed, and threatens to kill Charlotte if they don't stop following him.
No way. Or I kill her right now.
Jack stays calm, telling him that if he harms Charlotte, they won't stop to pick up her body as they'll keep chasing her until he runs out of gas. She vows to either rescue Charlotte or capture Jack and put him behind bars. Suddenly, Aaron throws Shane from the car and Shane screeches to a halt as he is shocked. They look closer and it's a life-size doll, dressed in Charlotte's clothes. By the time Jack and Shane reach the discarded doll, Aaron has already escaped. Night falls, and Shane receives a call from his ex-wife, who chastises him for not making it home at all. He talks to his son, Jake, reassuring him that he's allowed to stay up as late as he wants tonight because Shane will be home soon. Meanwhile, the police track Aaron's car and realize he's heading toward Tennessee, which is only 5 minutes from the highway where Jack and Shane are. Monica urges the police to contact Jack and Shane and ask them to follow Aaron, but Phil refuses, refusing to risk more civilians in this case. Realizing it will take him half an hour to get there, Phil prepares to go himself. However, Monica, determined to act, pretends to go to the restroom after secretly snapping a picture of Jack's contact information. Back on the road, Jack apologizes to Shane for making him miss his son's birthday, but Shane reassures him. He explains that he thought one more ride would give him enough money to buy video games for Jake. But now he understands that what Jake needs is his time, not toys. Jack opens up about her loss, revealing that she had a stillborn baby who died just a week before the due date. She explains how heartbreaking it was to go through labor pain while knowing her child was dead, and how painful it was to receive both a birth and a death certificate at the same time. She then asks Shane if, given the chance, they would chase Aaron again, and Shane, without hesitation, says he'd follow Jack to help any day. Suddenly, Monica calls Jack, revealing that she's found the address where Aaron is taking Charlotte. They quickly race to the location, which is a shady, isolated place. They connect to the earbud Jack dropped in Aaron's car, and hear him angrily trying to confine Charlotte to a room.
Do you want me to please?
Shane quickly calls Aaron, pretending to be from a pharmacy, and tells him his prescription is ready for pickup. Aaron, seemingly distracted, tells them he'll be there in 10 minutes, allowing Jack and Shane to hide. As soon as Aaron leaves, Jack and Shane break into the house. Inside, they are horrified to find shelves filled with baby shoes, dolls, and children's storybooks. Jack stumbles upon a disturbing photo album of a young girl named Olympia. The earlier pages show her playing happily with toys, but as the album progresses, the images become chilling, ending with pictures of Olympia lying lifeless on a bed. Jack discovers several similar albums, each more unsettling than the last. Meanwhile, Shane finds and loads a gun, preparing for the worst. They soon find the basement, where Charlotte is locked in a cage. However, they spot the earphone on a shelf, realizing that Aaron has set a trap for them. A loud bang echoes through the house. Signaling Aaron's return. They quickly try to make their escape, but a large dog blocks their path, barking aggressively and alerting Aaron to their presence. Shane tells Jack and Charlotte to go ahead. Shane returns back, but Aaron flanks them, sneaking up from the other side and shooting at Shane. Jack and Charlotte manage to flee upstairs, but they stumble into the very room Aaron had prepared for Charlotte. Aaron catches up, shooting Jack twice as she shoots Charlotte. Just as Aaron is about to fire the fatal shot, Phil bursts onto the scene and kills Aaron, saving Jack and Charlotte. Paramedics arrive shortly after, stabilizing both Jack and Shane. Charlotte is safely reunited with Monica, and Jack smiles, watching the emotional reunion between mother and daughter. The closing slides provide a reminder that the Amber Alert system was named after a 9-year-old girl named Amber, who was kidnapped and murdered in 1916. As of 2024, over 1,300 children have been rescued thanks to the Amber Alert. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. If you were trapped on a space station...
So, zombie. Parents force principal eat feces. Damn. The nigga out feeding my kids some bullshit, eat shit, bitch. Damn.
Chinese school fed kids 2-year-old rotten meat. Angry parents forced the principal to eat feces.
At a school in Kunming, Yunnan, the meat served to students in the cafeteria had already gone bad. The packaging indicated that this frozen meat, commonly known as zombie meat, was suspected to have been produced in 2015, making it nearly 9 years old. A parent picked up the meat from the plate and said the whole pot of meat was
The other
rotten.
kids are
I'd
throwing
like
rocks
to
at his
see how you
cameras.
plan to cook this for the kids. The parent angrily accused the cafeteria staff, this is not just negligence, it's about conscience. Where is your conscience?
The family beat
In
his
China,
ass.
it's widely known that food is the
Cause
most
he came over
basic
there,
necessity of the people, and illness
bitching
enters
over
through
them.
the mouth. Food safety affects everyone, every meal, especially children.
Yeah,
They
they
are
was having
well
a family
protected at home.
reunion.
Food safety
And
issues
they
in
was
school
like, who
is
the
still
fuck you talking to,
happening
bitch ass
frequently.
nigga?
A recent
For
incident
my
took place
cousin,
at
nigga.
Changfen School, affiliated with Renzi Middle School in Guangdu District, Kunming, Yunnan
My
Province.
family
On
nigga will
October
beat
16,
your
a
ass.
parent shared a video online saying the raw
They
meat in
pushed
the
on
school
him, he got
cafeteria
mad
had
through
a
their
foul
baby on the
smell.
way out.
The video circulating
Oh,
online
yeah.
shows several parents standing in the cafeteria's kitchen. Large trays of meat were laid out on the counter. One parent picked up a handful of shredded meat, asked others to smell it, and said it was rotten. Messages on WeChat revealed that many parents noticed their children had diarrhea and stomach pain after arriving at school. This led to frequent sick leaves. Photos taken by parents showed labels on the meat suggesting it was produced in 2015. One parent said, "It's almost 9 years old, nearly as old as my child." However, there is serious debate over whether this meat was really from 2015. A parent posted on social media saying the parents' committee raised the issue many times, but the Grey director keep suppressing it. Let's see what they say this time. On October 15, the parents' committee organized an inspection. Parents forced their way into the school cafeteria and found it was using frozen meat imported from Brazil. The next day, on October 16, parents returned to the school to report that they found meat in the cafeteria that smelled bad. Parents were outraged. They said, Changfen School charges 26,000 yuan a year, yet students are being fed poor quality food.
Y'all got
They called for the
finessed by
school's
some Brazilian
actions
niggas? Is that what
unacceptable.
y'all
Footage
trying to
showed
say?
over 100 parents gathered at the school.
Some of this
They
shit
were
came from
visibly
Brazil.
upset, demanding answers and accountability from the school's authorities. Some parents said the school's conduct amounted to a crime, and they called for criminal charges against those responsible. Chinese media reported that a staff member from the Guangdu District Education and Sports Bureau responded saying, the school cafeteria is operated by a catering company. It is a fully licensed business. The meat was purchased on site this morning. Parents may have thought it had a slight odor. Facing pressures, officials from the Guangdu District Education Bureau later confirmed that some of the meat had an unusual smell. Samples were sent for testing. On October 17, the Guangdu District Market Supervision and Administration Bureau and the Education and Sports Bureau announced that the cafeteria's food supplies had been sealed. Officials said they had launched an investigation into the school and the catering company. The cafeteria has stopped operations. Changfen School is affiliated with Renzi Middle School in Guangdu District, Kunming, Yunnan Province. It is a private school co-founded in 2016 by Kunming No. 12 Middle School and Yunnan Jingnuo Education Investment Holding Group. Reports show the annual tuition fee at Changfen School is 26,000 yuan. The cafeteria provides lunch and dinner. Each meal costs 14 yuan, which is more expensive than many public schools and even some other private schools. On October 18, a parent from Changfen School posted a video stating Changfen Middle School allowed parents to deliver food to their children now. The video showed many parents gathering at the school gate to drop off meals. Comments online included, if it smells bad, there's no need for tests, it's already obvious.
Crazy, they gotta walk up there and drop off their kid food.
And earlier, a school in Chongqing was found using expired rice, and now this school is serving rotten pork. Yet the food suppliers all have proper licenses. Shouldn't the issuing authorities also bear some responsibility? One social media user shared, every night people
all these niggas corrupt and getting paid off and
into the
shit.
trash bins at the market downstairs. They load them
They all
onto
go to the
electric
same
tricycles.
brothels.
Some say it's people from kindergartens, others say it's local primary schools. It's such a common sight now that no one even finds it surprising anymore. Another commentator said, I bet there are hardly any schools in the country that would dare to make their cafeterias open for
Like,
parents
don't
to
nobody
inspect.
gotta do none of them. They
Chinese
like
media also raised
totally
concerns that
destroying
if
their own
parents hadn't
civilization.
conducted a surprise check, how long would this problem have continued? Where are the routine inspections by the school and relevant authorities?
Like in
If
all
tainted food continues to be
aspects.
served, it's also a failure of market supervision and food
This is
safety
crazy.
agencies. The incident involving water meat at the Kunming school cafeteria had been trending online in China.
cutting corners
However,
with everything.
many of the videos were gradually removed by internet regulators on October 18. While the controversy over rotten meat at Changfen School remains unresolved, on October 18, a video surfaced showing
Y'all ain't got no
dozens
pride
of
in
students
shit. Y'all
at
just dress
school
shit up.
in Puro,
Y'all
Yunnan,
dress up
experiencing
everything.
symptoms like vomiting and stomach pains. That afternoon, a staff member from the Puro Disease Control Center confirmed on the media that some students had shown signs of discomfort and the cause was under investigation. The video showed a hospital treatment room filled with students in school uniform receiving IV treatment, with many parents by their side. Some expressed concerns that the same issue of zombie meat might be involved. Looking back on July 3rd, 2015, Yunnan's Spring City Evening News reported that authorities in Puro intercepted a shipment of smuggled zombie meat heading to Kunming. 5 large trucks disguised as banana carriers were found transporting 141 tons of frozen beef and chicken. Some of it had spoiled, with maggots crawling out. Staff described
Why are you buying it?
Feet and wings were purchased abroad for 2 or 3 yen per kilogram. At
And
that
you
time,
sneaking
the
it,
wholesale
too.
price in the Puro market was 23 yen for chicken feet and 27 yen for wings.
This shit is weird. You know it's
Here,
wrong.
hundreds of students at Sino-Canada School in Yule District, Changsha, Hunan, suffered from severe vomiting and diarrhea.
That's so weird.
The symptoms were strangely similar. Parents were confused. They wondered why their children, despite paying an annual tuition fee of 18,000
They need to
was still getting
change
sick.
what they showing on TV or something. Do everybody want to be supervillains out there? Like, what's
rotten
going on?
tomatoes, overnight leftovers, and large amounts of
They
cooked
forever
food.
have fucking
Parents filed a joint report
content
against the
for content
cafeteria.
and shit.
Hospitals later confirmed that students were infected with norovirus after being scalded.
I'm gonna be rich.
There was a case of mass food poisoning at Pima No. 1 Middle School in Shanxiang, Henan.
I can get all this spoiled meat for free.
Cases of mass food poisoning among
And sell it
students
for thousands of yen.
People are questioning whether these incidents reveal deeper problems within cafeteria safety management. The host of the YouTube channel, Chinese History, said, solving food safety issues in schools is actually simple. If principals, secretaries, and teachers eat with the students every day, the problem will be fixed. But this is impossible in China. Because of widespread corruption and weak oversight, problems with food safety in school cafeterias keep happening. On October 11, several Chinese media outlets reported that a branch of Chongqing Grain Group in Yuyuan County repackaged expired emergency rice, added a new production date, and sold it to rural schools. This caused public outrage. On July 13, parents in Pingguo, Guangxi complained that their children weren't eating well in the school cafeteria and sometimes didn't get enough to eat. An investigation found that meal prices were high and ingredients quality was unstable. A supplier had bribed local officials to secure a 12-year contract to supply food to 43 schools and kindergartens, monopolizing the market. On the show, Venus Hits Mars well-known Chinese host Jing Xing once discussed with her guest why food safety issues in China can't seem to be resolved. She asked, what is our food safety inspection department even doing? What about the quarantine department? Sociologist Lu Zhen, a guest on the show, responded,
my solution is very simple. First, make all government officials eat the same food we eat. They shouldn't have their own special supply. If they're eating
What kind of
safely,
shit is that?
can we be safe? If we're not safe, can they still manage the issue? Exactly.
Different qualities for different classes
the
of
second
people.
solution is if your
Government food.
your city has issues
Yeah,
with gutter water or
government
other food
food.
safety problems, you should be immediately removed from office. No excuses. No matter how important you are, you step down. If this rule is in place, they'll focus on food safety all day. They will be eating safely.
Australian-based scholar Feng Chong-yi once told the media that special supply privileges are only available to top-ranking officials. Regular CCP officials don't have access to them. Cancer rates are high across China, and even officials are among the patients. Officials at different levels actually do receive varying degrees of special supply benefits, but they still can't avoid eating out like everyone else. Media reports describe the village at the foot of Beijing's western
only rich niggas get to eat good meat.
Is within the capital
What are you
environmental
talking
protection
about?
zone. It houses Jushan Farm, a special supply base for the government. The farm is known for its high-tech, green, pollution-free practices. It grows and raises food for top CCP leaders. Southern Weekly once quoted an insider who said, to ensure the quality of Jushan Farm's produce, the Ministry of Agriculture sent testing agencies from other provinces.
Y'all wasted all that meat for 9 years. Where's all the good meat at?
Has detailed records.
Y'all sitting there waiting until it's spoiled to give it to motherfuckers.
At all levels follow
All
a
that meat
special
was
supply
good
model.
9 years ago.
Sometimes they're open to the public for show,
Why wasn't
attracting
it on the market?
each time. Insiders revealed that even township-level government canteens have special supply chains for vegetables, seafood, rice, and flour. These are bid for every year, and competition is fierce. Collusions between officials and businesses has led to recurring food safety problems in school cafeterias. The highest
We
level
get
of CCP are aware of
the good
very
string
election.
beans this time. We gotta get these cyanide ones and rinse them
China's
off.
National Audit Office released its 2023 audit report. It covered special funds for the Rural Students Nutrition Improvement Program. The audit focused on 159 counties in 13 provinces, reviewing over 23 billion yuan in subsidies from 2021 to August 2023.
Like,
It found that
this is
19.5
fucking
billion was
communism.
used
It doesn't fucking work.
for debt repayments and other expenses. Additionally,
You're not
41
giving
counties
nobody
and
nothing to live for.
1,533 schools diverted 270 million by lowering food standards or creating fake procurement contracts. Some local education departments colluded with suppliers using kickbacks and donations to extract funds for other purposes. Some
They want
rural
people to
providers
be
cut corners and
proud
substituted
to
for
be
quality
Chinese and
ingredients.
shit. Man, them people not giving a fuck about that shit. They just trying to live at this point. You got your motherfucking foot on
While
their neck.
authorities acknowledge
All
some of the audit's
aspects.
findings,
Everybody
many
trying to
believe
get over.
these issues are just the tip of the iceberg. The Taixing report also mentioned that back in 2017, there were reports showing that meal funds and school operational funds were often siphoned off by school management.
Even the boosters on the street.
These issues have
That
not
one video,
improved.
man, I got a
Comments
box
on
of
Weibo
chicken.
show
You think you
widespread
coming up?
frustration, and yet they encourage people to have more kids. So what if they find out
That
has
shit,
anything
it's all
improved over
bones.
the years? They're still picking on raw kids.
This
It's not
nigga
just
took all the
nutrition
meat.
funds
It's
being
just skin and
even in
bones.
cities, those with connections
For
with
ice.
skills, so
Fucking
kids end up
fucked up
either
my shit.
overweight or undernourished. It feels like a
Nigga
colonial
took all the
government.
meat out of the
Regarding
chicken.
the recent scandal at Chongqing School in Kunming, based on
What the
past
fuck?
experiences, the authorities are likely to find scapegoats, but it usually only affects the company and school leadership. If a death occurs and the case becomes high profile, higher ranking officials might be held accountable. But because they have powerful backers, they often return to their positions quickly, seen as having taken the fall for the party. For example, the 2008 Chinese milk scandal began when many infants who consumed milk from Shanlu Group developed kidney stones. It was later found that the milk contained the chemical melamine. 6 years later, in 2014, former chairwoman Tian Wenhua of Shanlu Group, who was sentenced to life imprisonment, had her sentence reduced to 17 years and 3 months. Officials who were forced to step down because of the incident, like Shijiazhuang Party Secretary Wu Xiangguo, Mayor Ji Chuntang, and Deputy Mayor Zhang Fawang, have all returned to their post. Wu
Why are mayors
head of the rural work leading group
in the
of the
baby
Hebei
formula
provincial
business?
government in early 2013 and later joined the Hebei provincial government
3
as
or
a
4
party
of them.
member. The former director of the Department of Livestock at the Ministry of Agriculture, who was demoted over the Shanlu incident, was reappointed in March 2009 as chief livestock officer.
No separation
Shen
between
Shenzhen,
government
who had been involved in a
and
case
the
with
state.
China's party
What's
member
going on?
and drug safety director at the National Food and Drug Administration, and later served as deputy director of the agency. This pattern has frustrated people both inside and outside of the Chinese system, but nothing has changed. Apart from the privileged elites, all Chinese people are surrounded by toxic food. In early July, it was revealed that oil tankers in China were transporting edible oil without cleaning the tanks after carrying coal-derived oil. This involved state-owned China Grain Reserve Corporation, and media described it as akin to poisoning. However, similar issues were reported as far back as 2013. On July 9, China's State Council started an investigation. A month later, the official report stated that only 2 tankers were involved and penalties were issued against the company's vehicle owners and drivers.
Fuck out
However,
of
the
here.
investigative
I
journalist who
refuse to
exposed
believe that
this faced
shit. If one
pressures
nigga
and
was doing
censorship.
it, best
Taiwanese
believe
experts
it
also
was more.
commented
Forget
that the
about 2 out the
CCP's
whole
response to such
country. Get the
events
fuck out of here. And all these
severely
niggas
over
is doing
public
fuck shit.
welfare. Their actions are
You
loud
think
in
he was the
words
first
but
nigga
weak
thinking
in
that
deed.
dumbass shit?
In contrast, if such issues happened
Being
in Taiwan,
lazy,
the
not
government
cleaning
would
out his
act,
truck.
media would keep up the pressure, and companies would be forced to improve their image.
He
The
pulled up
CCP,
to
on
the
the other
dock and
hand, is
filled up.
only tightening its control over public discourse. Independent commentator Du Zhen said, just like parents angrily asking cafeteria staff, where is your conscience? If everyone treated these students as if they were their own children, following the traditional Chinese value of do not do to others what you do not want done to yourself, we wouldn't be seeing so many issues. Now, it's the opposite. People harm each other, sometimes even on
That's
purpose.
basic
The question
human
is,
values.
who's in charge? It's the CCP. They've discouraged belief in God or retribution and has undermined the morality of the Chinese people.
Kaijus. Everyone likes kaijus. The robot fights a Pacific Rim, any version of Godzilla, serious or silly. And who doesn't love Gamera? I love Gamera. I talk a lot about giant monsters, how much I love them. But let's be honest.
In the future, the world is... The Final Destination franchise. 5 horror movies in which the killer is death itself. In this video, we will be diving into the deeper themes and symbolism of these films. It's a journey that will take us to some deeply disturbing places. But on the far side of all that, there's something else. All of us are born into this world in such a way that no matter what we do, one day, somehow, we're going to die.
We're biological entities, and death is just the end of biological function. It's as simple as that.
So what's the big deal?
No harm, no foul.
The Final Destination movies wake us up to our own mortality, but more than that, they invite us to have a problem with it. What if death isn't merely the end of biological life, but rather a vicious enemy, the ultimate enemy? In some ways, this is nothing new. There's a long tradition of personifying death. If not explicitly, then implicitly. In horror movies, death is often represented as a masked killer or a monster, a lethal agent of chaos that enters the story. But Final Destination commits to keeping death as an unseen presence. Aside from the occasional blurry reflection, we are never shown the character of death across the 5 films. No, what we see are his effects. The average person in the Final Destination universe experiences reality just as we do. For the most part, they don't even suspect that there's anything sinister going on. Death happens, and that's that. But occasionally, certain characters get a glimpse behind the curtain, and they discover that death is in fact a conscious entity pulling the strings in the background. The protagonists of these films are the people who are waking up to what's really going on. Be warned, from now on there will be spoilers for all 5 films. Let's take a look at the format of a typical Final Destination movie. 1. Young person has a premonition of a big explosive event, resulting in large loss of human life. 2. Young person is sufficiently disturbed by said premonition to get out of harm's way, along with some friends. Yay! But this creates a wrinkle in reality, because these people who are meant to die in the big incident are now alive. 3. Young person discovers that death is now killing off the survivors in the order that they would have died in the accident, and along the way there are signs and mini premonitions revealing who will die next and how. 4. Young person and friends attempt to thwart death's design, with apparent success. 5. Young person's relationship with a partner of the opposite sex is tested but ultimately strengthened. But 6. Death has the last laugh, and very rarely do any of the characters survive into the next movie. Now, I spell those out not to accuse the sequels of being too formulaic. I actually think it's part of their power. With each movie we see fresh characters coming up against the old enemy. Maybe this time it will be different. Maybe this time they'll crack the code and defeat death. But every time, without fail, death comes knocking. For all of them. The drama of each Final Destination movie is brought about by an interplay between 3 different influences.
The one I had didn't either. I was like, okay, that was a
Which is
Reese's.
obviously seeking to kill. Then there's premonition, information given from above through visions and physical signs.
Yeah, this is a soft ass Reese's. I was like, what the
And then there's
fuck?
intervention. Characters acting in response to the premonition.
They supposed to have a
in
press
order to
on
try and thwart or work with
Yeah, that'd have been
death's
fire.
design.
There are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, no escapes.
This is William Bloodworth, a mortician who appears in Final Destination 1, 2 and 5. He spent a lot of time around death.
You have to realize that we're all just a mouse that a cat has by the
Oh,
tail.
fuck that one's past quality control.
From the mundane to the mundane. The red light that we stop at, or the people we have sex with, the airplanes that we ride or walk out of. It's all part of death's sadistic design, leading to the grave.
In the films, for the young characters who take their predicament seriously, they
So
are
we got
wise.
3 pretzels in that bitch.
As the ancient Hebrew text of Ecclesiastes says, the heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of pleasure. It is at the morgue that these characters learn a degree of wisdom, the house of mourning. But of course, throughout the franchise, we also see people who choose to burn through their final days in the house of pleasure.
If you're right about this whole
House of
thing,
Pleasures.
then I'm going to make the most of
Kind
every
of
moment
crazy,
I have.
bro.
So I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to go late.
For now, let's stick with the faithful few, the characters who take death seriously. Something they need to learn very quickly is that their reality is far stranger and more interconnected than they first thought. There are signs everywhere, mini premonitions revealing clues about what death will do next. And our characters need to learn how to read the signs, like learning a new language, the language of symbolism. As I'm always quoting on this channel, a symbol is a fact, a tangible object that embodies higher meaning. It's a simple but vital concept. The physical everyday objects in the Final Destination universe aren't merely physical everyday objects. They are revealing a design, albeit a depressing one. You see it from the very beginning of the first film. The camera prowls around Alex Browning's bedroom, lingering on props which foreshadow the coming destruction. The spinning propeller of this fan foreshadows the central disaster of the movie, the plane explosion. And this hanging figurine foreshadows the bathroom strangulation of Alex's best friend, Todd. The film is full of symbols like this, physical objects which convey meaning. For most of human history, the
You know, Galileo and
now
without further ado, I think it's time to watch the new Tom McDonald music video. Hey, Tom. It's called Not.
Oh no, who is it?
When you think of hell, you might visualize pools of lava, demons flying around, countless souls screaming in agony, and things of that nature. And although these depictions are absolutely terrifying, there are other scenarios that are arguably worse, like being stuck in a mental fever dream where all logic is absent.
I have these memories from when I was a preteen, and the best part, or perhaps the worst, is that I had the fortune or misfortune of capturing those strange things I saw through my camera lens. I should start by saying that my family has always had money, and maybe I've lived a somewhat sheltered life, wrapped up in my own privileges. I grew up traveling to places that never really interested me. Plus, when you're a kid, everything around you feels boring unless there's a direct way to keep you entertained. But as you grow older, things change. You become much more aware of your surroundings, and the world starts to seem a bit more threatening. This story took place in 23, when I was 13, and my parents decided to give me one of the first
1923
with a built-in camera. It was amazing, and as usual during the summer, we went on a trip abroad. I have to admit, I wasn't too excited about Japan at first. Besides being a far-off destination, I never found anything particularly appealing about its culture or way of life. Back then, I would have preferred going to the beach, or anywhere with big cars and endless sunny streets. However, I took the opportunity to test out this novelty of carrying photos on my own phone. At that age, I really just had to follow my parents, and the opportunity came simply because I didn't complain about the trip. Although my memories are a bit hazy, I'm grateful for the photos I took, which helped me relive the moments surrounding each image. While on most of the pictures, I managed to save nothing but silly shots, streets, landscapes, or just hotel selfies. There's a very small group of strange things I saw, either on the street or even inside a hotel. Some of them terrified me when I saw them on my phone, but others I saw directly with my own eyes before photographing them. Our first stop was in Tokyo, though it was the shortest, as we spent most of our vacation in Osaka. Of the images I'm about to show you, only the first one is from our time in the capital. I took this photo almost by accident as we were heading back to the hotel where we were staying. I remember that evening we had dinner at a traditional restaurant, spending several hours trying a little bit of everything they had to offer. When night fell, I was amazed by the amount of lights in the city. It wasn't all that different from other big cities around the world, but at that age, those lights left a strong impression on me. So, walking through some of the darker streets felt oddly intriguing. In fact, during that taxi ride, I tried to photograph many of these dimly lit places because they seemed unnatural to me. I say this because the whole time, I had this strange feeling that certain areas were overwhelmed by a heavy black aura. It was as if certain corners had been swallowed by an almost artificial darkness. I caught elongated shadows in the corner of my eye more than once, and the result of that eerie sensation is what I captured in this photograph. I never thought that what felt like just a strange sensation would turn out to be something real. Back then, I had no idea what people were saying about certain neighborhoods in Tokyo. I wasn't aware of the hundreds of legends, ghostly apparitions, and the deep-rooted knowledge many of the island's inhabitants had of strange phenomena. When we arrived in Osaka, I was surprised by how many hotels were packed so close together, and I mean physically close. Here in Japan, everything felt too cramped. Even the luxurious areas weren't particularly spacious. During those summer months, all these hotels were completely full, and buildings glowed with their hundreds of brightly lit windows. The view outside was stunning, both day and night, and the nighttime
cityscape from the center was especially captivating. The photo you're looking at now is something I never quite understood because I took it without realizing what was there. While scrolling through my phone, I discovered that I had taken the picture at some point during the night. I remember the room we stayed in had a lot of mirrors, which for me, at 13, was more amusing than scary. I recall that some of these mirrors could even a few had wheels, and you could roll them from the bathroom to the
That wool stuff.
I was probably lying in bed,
So why you put that wool
TV,
stuff
and
back
playing
on?
around with the camera.
So why you put that wool stuff
Photograph
back
one of the
on?
3 mirrors in my room. The shadow reminded me of the one I saw in Tokyo, but this one was much more vague, smaller. Once I saw the photo on my phone, I took advantage of the mirror's mobility to turn them around, hoping to avoid the bad luck of seeing that shadow again. But from that moment on, the coincidence struck me as very odd, so I decided to look up anything related to shadow sightings in Japan. That's when I think I made the biggest mistake, because, as the saying goes, seek and you shall find. There is a well-known recommendation when it comes to dealing with beings from the paranormal realm. It says that it's never a good idea to stare directly into a completely dark room, nor should you ever look through a window into a place that has been abandoned for too long or where there's little human activity. There's a reason why basements are often filled with negative energy, just like attics and abandoned houses.
Wow.
Somehow, spirits manage to occupy those dark, silent spaces. In this photograph, I have to say, I got one of the worst scares of my life. It was also taken at night, when we were at Osaka's main train station. By then, I was already on edge from the legends I had read, and the truth is, that feeling of unease followed me everywhere I went. I thought I saw shadows in every corner, but I never managed to capture one again. In one of the booths at the station, one located in the older section, that hadn't been renovated yet, I unexpectedly came across this picture. Because of the type of glass, I couldn't quite tell if it was some kind of statue, but its form looked so much like that of a living person. I don't know if it ever moved, since I quickly took a picture and ran back to my parents. It could have been a spirit. All I know is that years later, while searching online, I stumbled upon something disturbing. I learned that it was quite common at night in the metro and train stations of Osaka to see figures behind windows, many of them leaning as if pleading for help. In Japan, it's often said that the Japanese themselves are peculiar people. Behind a normal life, a smile, or a kind gesture, monsters could be lurking in the most figurative sense of the word. There's also a common belief that you may encounter people on the streets, at train stations, on the subway, or in neighborhoods who have never truly existed. Ghostly apparitions are so frequent across Asia that people tend to be wary of each other, as there is always a chance that some of those around you aren't real people. The girl you see in the photograph was a worker at the restaurant we visited 2 days before our vacation ended. In fact, she served us the entire evening we were there, and my father witnessed the strange events that seemed to surround her presence. I remember that, unlike her coworkers, the waitress never smiled. Her face didn't reflect sadness either, but there was something deeply unsettling about her gaze. Her eyes seemed vacant, and while her movements weren't clumsy, they were slow and somewhat mechanical. I couldn't chalk it up to being her first day on the job, or anything like that, because she handled all her tasks quite well. When I took the picture, perhaps because of her age, it felt like a total lack of respect. She was looking at herself in a mirror near the kitchen, fixing her makeup. I noticed her lips, naturally pale, were almost as white as her skin. I could swear the woman didn't even have lips defined by color, only by shape. As the night went on, we didn't see her again until much later, when she emerged from the kitchen still wearing her uniform, holding a small bag. She walked out of the restaurant with that same gloomy expression. But she never came back, and when we had to leave at closing time, my father asked about the young woman so we could leave her a tip. Yet, no one knew who she was. I could have shown them the picture, but I might have gotten in trouble for doing that. My father was too impressed to let it go. He stayed for a while, describing her, but it was was as if she had never existed. The strangest thing was that, according to the system, no one had taken our pages orders. Everything we consumed was written down on a piece of paper, but no one could recognize the handwriting. Symptomatic anthrax, also known as blackleg, is an acute and highly lethal infectious disease that primarily affects cattle, though it can also occur in other ruminant species. It is caused by the bacteria Clostridium shovei, which is found in the soil and enters the animal's body through wounds or ingestion. The disease is most common in young animals, particularly those between 6 months and 2 years old, due to their rapid growth and higher levels of activity. The symptoms are often devastating for livestock, including muscle swelling, high fever, lameness, weakness, and loss of appetite. The affected tissue becomes necrotic, turning black or purple, and emits a foul odor due to the rapid decay of the tissues. Symptomatic anthrax is extremely aggressive, with a high mortality rate. In many cases, infected animals die within 48 hours of the onset of symptoms. However, this disease is now under proper control thanks to the widespread use of vaccines that effectively prevent the bacteria responsible for it. This preventive method has successfully kept catastrophic economic losses at bay worldwide. Yet, there was one case that set a precedent for the inspection of vaccine potency and expiration dates. The 1975 tragedy in Carson County, Texas, nearly led to one of the country's largest cattle devastations, which would have halted both dairy and meat production. In the spring of that year, during the annual cattle vaccination, after nearly 25 years of successfully controlling symptomatic anthrax, a failure in the vaccine's base compound left the Texan population on edge for a week. As a result, the livestock pharmaceutical company Ajar took bold steps to improve and update the vaccine's active ingredient, focusing primarily on cattle. With this enhancement, the goal was to extend the vaccination intervals from annual shots to once every 5 years. What initially seemed to be going very well quickly spiraled into chaos that was thought to be uncontrollable. After vaccinating a large portion of the cattle at the Carson Road 14 plant, the animals showed an excellent reaction the first night, even remaining active at feeding time. However, the scene was completely different by dawn. When the veterinary team entered the barns, the first thing they noticed was the horrific stench of the rotting flesh. Even more unusual was the complete silence inside, except for the incessant but faint buzzing of hundreds of flies. To their devastation, the team discovered that the entire herd had succumbed during the few hours of the night. As shown in the photograph, the cows exhibited the same symptoms of symptomatic anthrax and followed the same progression, but in an incredibly short amount of time. While the physical deterioration from contracting this bacteria usually consumed the body slowly, the vaccine appears to accelerate cellular activity. According to later studies, the Clostridium shovei bacteria had received a dose that, instead of neutralizing its activity, triggered a hyperdevelopment that caused severe mutations in the cattle. Although all of the cows perished by morning, some had escaped the barn, while others, in a weakened state, began feeding on the remains of their herd mates. Those found outside had traveled nearly Some collapsed on the grave, fell by the effects, while others died as they fed on a couple of sheep. This last incident set off all the alarms in the county, as there was no way of knowing whether the cows affected by the vaccine had come into contact with other animals. With no understanding of the Clostridium chevroi bacteria's enhanced activity, officials could only assume that a potential catastrophe was unfolding. Apparently, the consequences were not as dire as anticipated, as no further cases of the disease were reported in the region's cattle in the following months. With the return to the traditional vaccination system, symptomatic anthrax was effectively brought under control. However, some farmers in northern Texas have since reported strange behavior in their cattle over time. Mysterious deaths, which, due to the secrecy surrounding the accident, were naturally attributed to wild animal attacks, or even theorized to be the work of a supernatural creature feeding on livestock, have raised suspicions. The following photograph was retrieved from an old Polish forum dedicated to security issues in Poland in 2004. Although there is very little information available beyond the post's author's account, a couple of things are certain. It took place in Warsaw sometime in 1992, and the photograph comes from a fixed security camera. On the forum, the user named Ajar shared the following account with a somewhat peculiar resolution. Hello friends, Jacob here, as usual. I've noticed that in recent months, there have been some issues with stowways causing problems in the outbreak. As many of you have mentioned here, I can fully understand what it means to live in fear, worrying that a stranger might show up in your home. I went through it about 12 years ago, and unfortunately, because of a named intruder, I lost one of my children. But I think it's time I share one of the best solutions for getting rid of these damn bastards. I'm not sure if it's as easy to pull off nowadays, with so much oversight, but back then, no one was checking, and you could operate well outside the law. I'll tell you anyway. Back in 1992, after my youngest son's death, I was devastated, and I'd rather spare you the details of that. Afterward, I decided the best course of action was to take justice into my own hands. The man, or what's left of him, that you see in the image is the same one who shot my boy when we tried to defend ourselves. I set a trap for him in my basement, but to do so, I had to modify it to create the perfect conditions. Most importantly, I had to isolate it completely from the outside, creating a controlled environment where I could apply heat and adjust the lighting and humidity levels. After sealing the basement to make it completely airtight, I can tell you how I did it by a private message. I managed through a friend who has some contacts in Turkmenistan to acquire the famous mountain sand. It's a species that, under certain conditions of climate, humidity, and diet, can grow to truly astonishing sizes. My friend advised me not to keep it in darkness for too long, as the direct sunlight is what kept the species at a safe size for humans. So, with that information in mind, I made the best decision of my life. I arranged a specific situation to meet my son's killer again, and after a few months, thanks to the man's own stupidity, he returned. And I managed to trap him in the basement. As I mentioned earlier, I had been raising the mountain centipede for several months, and by then, under the right conditions, it had grown immensely. It seems it did its thing with the sky. Through the camera, I watched as the centipede tried to eat him. I could hear his blood-curdling screams, and I relished it as an act of justice while I watched on the screen. So, to all of you, my recommendation is clear. Good luck to you all.